All Nations University at Koforidua is one of the foremost private tertiary institutions in Ghana. All Nations University is affiliated with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi and have strategic partnerships with some top institutions in Canada, the United States and India. It operates 4 schools, that of business, engineering, allied health sciences and the humanities. Despite its relatively small campus, the All Nations University has undertaken groundbreaking initiatives worthy of mention. It spurred the interest in private university initiative after becoming first to obtain an interim authority to start one. The university indicates that it chalked up a staggering number of firsts in communicating with an international space station. It had designed and built a ground station that communicates with satellites along the west coast of Africa. The All Nations University was founded more than 20 years ago by Dr. Samuel Donko upon his decision to relocate back home from Canada.
All Nations University College has contributed well over 100 lecturers to Ghanaian universities. These lecturers first obtained their undergraduate degrees at All Nations University College. They went on to graduate school. Today, 30 of these lecturers are teaching in public institutions such as the University of Ghana, KNST, University of Education, polytechnics, and other tertiary institutions.
President John Mahama painted the existing picture of new global trends and employment. He said, only 600,000 out of Ghana's 26 million population have employment space in the public sector. He said the reality supports the current premium being placed on the private sector to create more jobs to absorb the teeming school leavers.
Your certificate does not automatically qualify you to a job. It is the value that you add to the certificate that will make you employable. And so taking advantage of skills training, taking advantage of, practical learning, taking advantage of internships and other things to, improve your curriculum vitae is something that you need to look at.
20 of the graduates obtained first class. The overall best student award went to Kenneth Kelechi Ume, a Nigerian who pursued biomedical engineering. All Nations University has a foreign student population of 354, drawn from 22 African countries. Napoleon Atukito reporting.
A bus stop is a place specially designed for vehicles to stop so passengers can alight and board the vehicle. Depending on where they are located, bus stops may have shelters and seating. However, a look around town reveals that most of the busy ones have been taken over by traders. Some are in bad state and drivers tend to stay longer than their intended times and park on the shoulders of the road to beat the competition for passengers, posing danger to incoming traffic. Our reporter Maureen Apriku tells us more about bus stops in Accra.
On most highways and major roads, bus stops are situated at vantage points to allow commuters board and alight vehicles without necessarily going to a bus station. This helps commuters save time as they will not have to go inside a station which might be a distance away. Also, commuters are able to get on board vehicles that are already on the move instead of going to sit in a vehicle at the station and wait for it to be full before the driver moves. Depending on how busy the area in which it is located is, the bus stop might have a shelter and possible seating for passengers and commuters. These shelters may be provided by the assembly in charge of the area or by private entities who wish to advertise their products on the structure. A good bus shelter is an essential part of any successful urban mass transit system. It should be one that has low maintenance requirements, allows visibility and easy access to vehicles, is comfortable and convenient, and provides clear information and is safe for the pedestrian. A bus shelter is designed to reflect the city in which it is located. This can be accomplished through the use of local materials and by the design details. All these are done with visibility, accessibility, comfort and convenience of the user in mind. In Ghana, some bus stops are not used for their intended purposes. A case in point is the 37 bus stop close to the Golden Tulip Total Service Station in Accra. This bus stop has been turned into a mini market by sellers who plied their trade by selling clothing and other commodities. The main shed put up to house commuters has been turned into a bookstore. As if that is not enough, the pavement has also been overtaken by sellers. This has prompted commuters and pedestrians to use the island to board the buses. Moving on from there, it was evident that for some taxi drivers, the bus stop serves as their loading base where they park and wait for passengers instead of only stopping when a passenger who is already on board wants to alight or when they are flagged down by a passenger. Some pedestrians who we spoke to were not happy about the situation.
The way the drivers park by the roadside is quite appalling. And then the way they sell at the bus stops. The bus stops are for we, the passengers, pedestrians. But when you come in, you stand in the scorching sun, whereas the person is selling in the bus stop, which is meant for us. And that should be looked at.
If the bus stop is neat, it will be good for us, so we can sit before we board the vehicle. At this spot, stones have been used to block the bus stops due to the attitude of drivers. A drive around town also revealed that the shelters at the bus stops have been defaced with posters advertising churches and their activities, jobs and other services. Even when there is a warning against such activities, it is clearly not heeded. Most of the bus stops in the city were either erected by corporate bodies or non-governmental organizations at a very high cost. But from the look of things, the desired benefit is yet to be derived by commuters because these bus stops are not being used for their intended purposes. There are others too that need to be given a new look.
Work on the 250-bed Ashanti Regional Hospital under construction at Sewua in the Busumchi district is progressing steadily. On completion, the hospital will be the first ever regional hospital for Ashanti and will replace the Kumasi South Hospital, which is currently serving as the improvised regional hospital.
There are 7 hospital projects under construction in the Ashanti region being financed by the government of Ghana and its development partners. Among them is the Konongo District Hospital in the Asante Achem Central Municipality. The 60-bed project began in June 2015. On completion, the facility will be the main referral health care center for people in and around the Asante Achem North, South and Central municipalities. According to the site engineer of the project, Mohammed Hassan, the hospital will also have residential accommodation for about 10 medical doctors. Another major hospital project under construction in the region is the 500-bed second military hospital at Afari in the Chimwa, Mwabirja district. The resident engineer, Mr. Islam Sharawi, said about 60% of work on the $180 million project was already done. The project is to be completed in October this year. It has many facilities including a helipad to facilitate speedy response to emergency situations. About 99% of the 550 people working on the project are Ghanaians, mostly from the project catchment area. At Sewua, a 250-bed new regional hospital is being constructed to replace the Kumasi South Hospital. Work on this project, which has a housing facility for 150 staff members, started in March last year. The rains are posing a challenge to all these projects. Mr. Mohammed Ali is the construction manager of the project.
As you can see, the building speaks for itself. I'm not the one to tell you, and we are all stakeholders in this. With this project, for instance, I can tell you, God willing, October, this project will be commissioned.
All the projects are being executed by Irrigate Invest, a multinational entity which is pre-financing the construction.
UNICEF estimates that poor nutrition in the first 1,000 days of a child's life can lead to stunted growth, which is irreversible and can reduce academic performance. And this can affect the country's development progress. In view of this, the Ghana Journalists Association and Nestle Ghana have trained some selected journalists to use their reportage to help address malnutrition in the country.
Data from UNICEF indicate that nearly half of all deaths in children under 5 are attributable to undernutrition. This translates into the unnecessary loss of about 3 million young lives every year. According to the report, undernutrition puts children at greater risk of dying from common infection, increases the frequency and severity of such infections, and contributes to delayed recovery. In terms of overall progress towards the Millennium Development Goals, Sub-Saharan Africa is far behind all other regions and farthest from reaching a 50% reduction in stunting prevalence since 1990. Meanwhile, the number of overweight children worldwide, which is another aspect of malnutrition, is rapidly rising. This requires the collective engagement of society, government, private sector and the media. In 2014, AU leaders at a meeting in Malabo renewed their 2003 commitment to allocate at least 10% of their national budget to agriculture. This is expected to promote food security in Africa by reducing malnutrition and poverty. Knowing the power of the media in information dissemination, Nestle Ghana collaborated with the Ghana Journalists Association to educate the public on the need for good nutrition for child development.
We need a health and nutrition-oriented journalism to help bring key national and global health issues to the fore. Reporting on maternal and infant nutrition issues requires a collective engagement with society, government, and private sector in identifying the key topics, stories, testimonies, and experiences that can create more awareness and impacts about this important subject.
Once again, appeal to journalists to specialize in very important areas like nutrition, health journalism. As the media space expands, expect journalists to also specialize in tandem with the expansion of the media space.
A representative of the Ministry of Health, Mr. Bernard Nyakuche, tasked journalists to work hard to ensure that the public is well educated on good nutrition.
There is no gainsaying in opening our radios and hearing the sensational news on air, but deep down, the remotest part of Ghana, some mother somewhere cannot have access to health care, yet we cannot report on that. Somewhere, deep inside the remotest part of Ghana, a child is not getting even 1 square meal to eat. As a nation, the time has come for us to prioritize what is of value to us.
As part of the training on nutrition, Nestle Ghana organized a cooking competition for the group of journalists from TV, radio, the print and online media, as well as bloggers. They prepared boiled yam and palava sauce, banku and tilapia, rice and stew, garnishing vegetables and fruit dessert. The TV group emerged winners, followed by those from the online and print media.
As part of activities lined up to mark its 90th anniversary, the management of the Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital in Accra have organized a program to raise funds for the construction of a new 3-story building. The building would help the hospital to cope with growing numbers of people visiting the facility to access health care.
The Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital started as an integrated medical facility for mother and child. Over the years, the hospital has offered quality health care to children in its 84-bed capacity facility in Accra. However, the addition of a surgical unit coupled with the increase in the number of patients visiting the hospital
and the demand for pharmaceutical and diagnostic services have soared, hence the need to put up facilities to meet the growing demand. As part of the hospital's activities to mark her 90th anniversary, the hospital has held a fundraising ceremony to construct a 3-story building. The building, estimated to cost $600,000, will house the laboratory, X-ray unit and pharmacy. The board chairman of the hospital, Reverend Father Andrew Campbell, appealed to individuals and corporate bodies to support the project to enable the Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital offer quality healthcare delivery to mothers and children.
You need visions, and I envision now putting up that building over the present laboratory and X-ray unit. Let that building go to help us fulfill this vision we have, to help our children. The children are the future of Ghana, and we have to help them.
The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, said healthcare delivery to children is a fundamental human right that must be protected.
We must ensure that our children in this country have access to quality healthcare. And like I said, it is not only about quality healthcare, but it's also about groundbreaking research that will increase their chances of survival on this earth. Healthcare is a fundamental human right, and we're happy we have a health facility that focuses on healthcare for children.
Support towards the project could be sent to the Barclays Bank High Street branch, account number 04811594431. The Association of the Ghana Disabled Federation is appealing to the government to ensure that the Disability Act, which requires people with disabilities to be employed, is fully functional. The association says many of the people with disabilities are still living under harsh conditions and are employed, although there is now a law protecting their rights. The call was made at a national medical outreach for the Greater Accra Association of Persons Living with Disabilities at the Ashaman Government School.
The National Medical Outreach is an initiative of the Ghana Health Services and is in line with the government's drive to make healthcare accessible to all, including those who cannot afford it. The program started in 2014 with the basic aim of giving free medical care to especially people in deplorable communities within selected districts of the 10 regions. This is the very first of such medical outreach organized solely for persons with disability.
It's not a one-time thing. It's one thing that we are programmed to make sure that we move from region to region and make sure that all of them get covered.
Over 500 persons living with disability in the Greater Accra region were screened and treated for various medical conditions.
For now, what we've seen is malaria, and some of them are hypertensive. When they take their pressure, it's very high. And then most of them, being persons with disability, are complaining a lot about pain, bodily pains, backache, and then knee pain and other things, because they sit a lot, so they tend to complain a lot about the back. And also some of them are having eye problems.
The chairman of the physically disabled in Accra, Mr. Elvis Kosi Alupui, said the physically challenged are not able to seek medical care because many of them are unemployed and do not have the money. Besides, many health facilities in the country are not disability friendly.
When we get to the doctor inside, there's so many tables around, all the hospitals that I visited. Even some of the doors are very narrow. So sometimes when we try to put them, it's like it's a disability character. So even some, it end up with a fight between the I and the doctor, I personal, several times.
The exercise brings together medical teams from various regions to attend to the health needs of the people.
At a public expenditure and accountability meeting held at Winneba in the Central Region, public officials in the municipality explained how public funds were extended and expanded on development projects.
hall meeting has been one of the forum most communities and towns used to take stock of their development activities. Although the concept has not been popular these days within some communities, it is refreshing to see it being revived. The Winneba Town Hall meeting attracted various youth groups in the municipality, civil society groups, traditional leaders, assembly members, and members of the general public. The meeting was organized by the Winneba Municipal Assembly in collaboration with the Osanko Child Poverty Relief, a civil society organization. The stakeholders dialogued on the financial activities of the Assembly as well as development projects that have been undertaken over the period. These include construction of drains within the municipality and the Winneba Lorry Station rehabilitation.
What that means, the my cars was to walk back. Let's catch on the walk back. What's the winning? In the cars, they were made the engine in real. You know, you think cars have been running on the way. We all playing that in Sucha. You see, you feel a solo about passes. And so on Bade, a baby man, and soon over our team. So what he has to do is to break the drain away, not onion for.
Internal auditors of the Ghana Education Service have met to discuss ways to ensure efficiency in the profession. At a national conference at Koforidua, the auditors recommended periodic training to improve their skills.
The Association of the GES Internal Auditors was established in 1969 and became a service arm of the GES in 1974. The conference was to take stock of the past and strategize for the future. It was also to elect executives to steer the affairs of the association for the next 2 years. The chairman of the association, Mr. Timothy Terry Trinebois, recommended periodic training to improve their skills. The chief internal auditor, Reverend Bismarck Akandi, said some measures have been put in place to ensure efficiency in the system, but added that this can be sustained through the engagement of qualified and competent personnel as well as policies and guidelines to ensure discipline in the profession. The Eastern Regional Director of Education, Mrs. Rosetta Addison Saki, advised auditors in the Ghana Education Service to avoid corrupt practices and do their work diligently. The Eastern Regional Minister, Madame Mavis Amafrimpong, said any act of wrongdoing among auditors has a tendency of compromising the integrity of the work.
You're still watching News Hour live on GBC24 and GTV. We're taking a short break. Business is next. Well, in business, shareholders of the GCB Bank will receive a dividend of 33 pesos on each share owned. The bank made a profit after tax of 244 million cedis, out of which 87 million cedis will be used to pay dividends to shareholders. However, GCB Bank's profit for 2015 was 25 million cedis short of the 2014's profits of 270 million cedis.
Founded in 1953, GCB Bank was previously known as Ghana Commercial Bank. Since then, GCB Bank has gone on to become one of Ghana's leading banks with the financial strength to help Ghana to consolidate her presence on the oil-producing countries league. At this year's annual general meeting, the company's profit after tax was 244,735,000 Ghana cedis as against 2014's profit of 270,057,000 Ghana cedis. Revenue stood at 867 million compared with the 2014 figure of 735 million Ghana cedis. The chairman for the board of GCB Bank, Mr. Daniel Obredu, said in spite of the challenges faced in the banking sector, GCB Bank delivered a strong financial performance and maintained its position as one of the top performing banks in the country.
Operating revenue was 863 million Ghana cedis in 2015, up 18% or 132 million Ghana cedis more than the 731 million recorded in 2014. Significantly, cost was kept under control as operating expense of 426 million Ghana cedis was incurred in 2015, 1% less than the 428 million Ghana cedis spent in 2014, pointing to benefits derived from operational excellence initiatives. However, an industry-wide credit deterioration in the year under review affected your bank, necessitating an increase in the charge for loan loss of 93 million Ghana cedis compared to 24 million Ghana cedis in 2014. This led to a pre-tax profit of 361 million Ghana cedis, which is 9% less than was achieved in 2014.
The acting managing director of GCB Bank, Mr. Samuel Sapon, said in spite of the challenges of high operating costs, the bank has put in measures to curtail this in the coming year.
Operating costs basically are challenged in terms of mitigating that. What we are doing is making sure we control the costs in our business, making sure unnecessary expenditures are reduced in order to be able to stay profitable.
High on the agenda of GCB Bank for 2016 is deploying strategies to be a modern preferred bank, enhancing customer experience and shareholders' value. On the outlook, 2 more new branches will be opened in Adringano and Weija, thus bringing the total number of branches in the country to 160.
The season of mangoes is here with us again. Out of the 7 most popular types of mangoes in Ghana, the one in abundance is Julie, or the local type. Not much is known about this type of mango, but its presence on the market has led to food being made available on the tables of many homes. Edward Nyaku traced the home of Julie to Dodowa in the Greater Accra region and has filed this report.
This is Dodowa, and it is one of the leading centers of mango production in Ghana. Ghana can boast of several types of mangoes, but the most popular ones are the Kent, Kate, Haydn, Plummer, Alfonso, Jafina, and Julie. The Food and Agriculture Organization says mango is seasonal, and throughout the world, Ghana is one of the few countries that has 2 seasons of mangoes. But even with the 2 seasons, Ghana is yet to take full advantage of the climatic condition, is now able to produce mangoes for only 12 weeks out of the 52 weeks in a year. The major season for mangoes in Ghana is from May to July, while the minor one is from October to November. Now the local mangoes, which is also known as Julie, is in season, and it is common to see children throwing stones at mango trees. These 2 young girls are junior high school students at Dodowa. To them, the best time to hunt for mangoes and make some money is during this period. He said since the mango season started in April, anytime they go out to hunt for mangoes, they make 10 cedis each. At the Dodowa market, the local mangoes has helped in creating jobs for both women and children. These bowls of mangoes are going for 3 and 5 Ghana cedis. No studies have been made to show the impact the local mangoes or Julie has made on the lives of the women who sell mangoes across the country. Harriet does her business at the Medina market, but she's at the Dodowa market to buy mangoes. Been selling fruit for the past 10 years and said this box full of mangoes is being sold at 150 Ghana cedis. Harriet, a mother of 4, says business is slowing down due to an alleged harassment by some guys at the Medina market. On my way, I saw that the mangoes were on sale in almost every town from Dodowa to Ibi. At the GBC market in Accra, the presence of Julie can be felt throughout. However, as has been the norm, these mangoes, which can help Ghana rake in foreign exchange if exported or processed, were seen going waste. The consumption of mangoes offers several health benefits, including protection against cardiovascular diseases and cancer due to its antioxidant properties.
It has anti-aging benefits. You can apply the mango pulp to your skin and it will move a lot of wrinkles. So the women use it a lot. There has been research on situations where you can soak mango leaves overnight in warm water, and early early in the morning, you drink it. And it's got a lot of health benefits that can really help things like your eyesight.
Ghana has been exporting mangoes for the past couple of decades, but she's yet to harness the full potential of this fruit. The local variety, the Julie, is exported to the UK in its green form and used as pickle. Pickling is a process of preserving or expanding the lifespan of food by either anaerobic fermentation in brine or immersion in vinegar. The resulting food is called a pickle. On the global ranking list of leading mango producers, Ghana, with a potential, could not make it to the top 10 leading producers. India is leading the market with 44%, China 13%, Thailand 6%, Mexico 5%, Pakistan 4%, Nigeria 3%, Indonesia 3%, Philippines 3%, Brazil 2%, and Egypt 1%. The market share of the top 10 countries comes to 84%, and the remaining 6% is shared among the rest of the world, including Ghana. Edward Nyakum, reporting for GBC24.
And that's it for business.
My Journey, a reporter's diary of events from across the country, showing every Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. only on GBC24.
My journey for this evening. The given situation at the Nkrumah interchange in Accra revealed a mixed bag in the aftermath of a downpour, but one that is largely tilted in a positive direction. For once, the area did not come under water except for pockets of water which had collected on portions of undulating ground. The onset of the rains is disrupting construction work on the Nkrumah Circle interchange. The contractors say the situation is likely to affect the deadline for the completion.
The Kwame Nkrumah Circle is a key intersection in the arterial road network of Accra. It links the suburban areas of the city to the central business district. Work on the €74 million three-tier Kwame Nkrumah interchange project, which started in 2013, is progressing steadily. The Kasanuma Road that links the Nsumum Road around the Vodafone building and the one that links the Nsumum Road to the Nkrumah Avenue around the GCB building is opened to traffic. Latest torrential rains in Accra to be followed by the post-mortem analysis. You cannot stop rainfall, but you can set off mitigating factors against the harsh effects of the natural phenomenon. A day after rainfall in one of the capital's nerve centers has opened assessment of all the items which wrap into the consequences, and this time around the results are not tragic. The Kwame Nkrumah Circle is on low ground, prone to flooding, one of two compelling reasons for which the authorities decided to convert the runabout into an interchange. The other reason was to ease traffic congestion. Matters came to a head when last year's flooding left in its trail a disaster in monstrous proportions, leaving over 100 people dead and many with injuries. A chunk of that account issued from the Kwame Nkrumah interchange area, where the twin disasters of flooding and a fuel station fire alarmed the nation. Immediately after that incident, officials took the audacious path, pulling the bull by the horns. All unauthorized structures which stood in the course of waterways were evacuated, while major drainages were paved to give passage to flash waters. We do not know yet how the grounds beneath the flyovers will look like upon the completion of the project. However, it looked understandable by every stretch of the mind that the brown patches around the area will collect water. This time, neither knee nor neck deep, as were characterized in the past. The desilted Odor water channel seemed to have mopped up the water and kept things under control.
It looks like Nancy, I want you, I must see the and I say, Sultan, a mapa, but Antimian bats would say semi and canny air and M says, say a better cacratching person.
It remains to be seen whether the trend is sustainable, given the fact that people have not stopped throwing garbage around indiscriminately. The wanted items are washed down, massing up to choke outlets for water. That is the exact situation which explains the opposite scenario of the gutter extending from Asylum down to the Odo taxi station and trading arena. While the situation on the ground was not very much the same as the story they told, they were of the opinion that their versions can best be measured when it is unfolding in the present tense.
Since I'm egu ya no na mutumi eyi gata no but the mu asan so echoku biem but no ama nsuo to kakra pepepe na afi the afrade wo ye station ne market no mu eyi na gotei ko fam ko hezisi a gotei mu hezisi a omunyi mu on pe say zoom lion o me ball across zoom lion no emefa ye ne anso contribute greater yipa aye mo ehun modern wo sanitation mu hini no pesa bibia na ban na nyaba na so ye ne na efiye ye so ye mwa ma ban so mwa ye me bibia nko so fine
no first night tintin it is only 20 mimpi it's only to free sent sense bulletin mu esinti it's only to ya na bua fa ye cast ne no manyina say enti it's only yira na yiri fine.
The crew chanced upon these good Samaritans with their bucket collecting water from under this bridge. They say they are traders who have been displaced by the construction and taken refuge under the bridge. But whenever it rained, they spent hours collecting water before they are able to display their wares. Those who were not affected by the rains were also doing brisk business under the overpass. Construction workers were also busily working on the flyovers and terminals. Some were also working on the drainage. They explained that the rains will not destroy this concrete they have laid. Traders were not enthused about the size of the drainage. They say it is too small.
The drainage is too small, considering that the area is on low ground and flood prone.
The construction has also affected traders at the frontage of the pedestrian shopping mall at Odona. The debris from the demolished stalls is left uncollected in front of the mall. The traders complained that no compensation have been paid to them.
I was affected by the recent demolition in April and I have not received any compensation. The drainage is too small and inappropriate.
Drivers who operate at the Carnation Lorry Station have been temporarily relocated to areas along the railway line to make way for upgrading of the bus terminal. They say, despite the inconvenience the construction posed to commercial transport business, the rains are also slowing down business as they have to meander through the muddy road and through stagnant waters. This slows vehicular movement, causing traffic on that stretch. Pedestrians have to wade through the muddy walkways to board cars to their destinations. Work on the project began in 2013 and was originally billed to be completed in 24 months, according to some workers who spoke off camera. Given the extent of work to be done, such as a police station, replacement of the statue of Kwame Nkrumah with a new one, construction of a fountain, landscaping among others, the deadline may not be met. They added that the rain is affecting the pace of work at the site.
National News is next.
In international news, a vintage World War II aircraft has crashed in the Hudson River between New York and New Jersey. The plane, a single-seater P-47 Thunderbolt, went down 2 miles south of George Washington Bridge. Divers later recovered a body, believed to be that of the pilot from the submerged plane. The cause of the crash has not been confirmed, but engine failure has been cited as a possible cause. The plane was one of 3 that flew from an airfield in Farmingdale, east of New York City. They were taking part in shooting a promotional video to mark the 75th anniversary of the American Air Power Museum. The 2 other aircraft, a P-40 and a plane taking the photographs, returned safely to the airfield.
Former Argentine junta leader Reinaldo Benon has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for crimes committed under Operation Condor, a conspiracy between South America's dictators in the 1970s. Benon and 14 other military officers were found guilty by a court in Argentina after a 3-year trial. Many left-wing activists were kidnapped and killed in Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay and Bolivia. Human rights activists have hailed the ruling. Former Uruguayan Colonel Manuel Cordero, the only non-Argentine defendant, was jailed for 25 years. The judges are continuing to deliberate the sentencing of the rest of the former military officers.
Supporters and opponents of Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump have clashed in the city of San Diego in California. Police declared a gathering outside the city's convention center unlawful and made 35 arrests as stones and water bottles were thrown. Mr. Trump was in the city near the Mexican border to hold a rally ahead of the 7th June California primary. He has pledged to build a border wall to keep out illegal immigrants.
The Greek Prime Minister has said sanctions imposed on Russia over its actions in Ukraine are not productive. The EU is expected to renew sanctions in a matter of weeks. Alexis Tsipras was speaking at a joint news conference in Athens with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Mr. Putin said there would be no discussions about Crimea, the Ukrainian peninsula that was seized by Kremlin-backed forces in 2014, leading to sanctions from the EU and US. The territory, which has an ethnic Russian majority, later voted to join Russia in a referendum that Ukraine and Western countries deem illegal.
Pakistani media and activists poured scorn on Friday on a suggestion from an Islamic religious body that men should be allowed to lightly beat their wives, made in their draft of a women's protection bill. Local media quoted the draft as saying, quote, "A husband should be allowed to lightly beat his wife if she defies his commands and refuses to dress up as per his desires, turns down demand of intercourse without any religious excuse, or does not take bath after intercourse or menstrual periods," unquote. Women in conservative Pakistan have fought for their rights for decades in a country where so-called honor killings and acid attacks remain commonplace. I guess these debates will still rage on, and that's it for international news. Coming up, we have sports.
The Ghana's fastest human search team has held its first open competition for athletes in the central and western regions. Out of the 200 athletes that participated, 10 were selected.
The Ghana's Fastest Human Search is a 7-year program initiated by former international athlete Rex Broby, who was at one time one of the fastest men in Ghana and Africa. Ghana, after her independence and through to the 70s in particular, was a powerhouse on the continent and beyond as far as athletics was concerned. Names like Mike Ahe, Alessa Noon, Anna Ifriye and Ohene Karikari were a household names. The bid to recapture those glorious heights seen in the 80s and 90s, Ghana's Fastest Human was born. It is seeking to identify sprint talents in Ghana and grooming them for international competitions. The event is in its 4th year. This year's search has commenced in Takoradi. The competition, open to the under 10 and 15 athletes, was held at the Sipon Stadium with over 200 athletes participating. At the end, 10 athletes from the numbers were selected after an intensive screening session. Second round of selection process will be done for the Upper East, Upper West, and Northern regions in Tamale. The team will then move to Kumasi on July 16th. Accra will take its turn on August 13th before the grand finale on 10th September in Kumasi.
The Ghana Judo Association has received equipment used in kendo sports. The equipment is worth $4,200.
Kendo is a Japanese martial art similar to Taekwondo by using sword and facial mask. More than 1.6 million Japanese people practice Kendo. In Kendo, facial gears and shin guards are worn to protect the body. Kendo was introduced in Ghana in 2015 by the Japanese ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Kaoru Yoshimura. Presenting the equipment to the Ghana Judo Federation, the ambassador said the aim of the Embassy of Japan is to see Ghanaians participate in the sport in Tokyo Olympics in 2020.
Showbiz, a renowned Ghanaian musician, Akosua Ejipon, has embarked on a peace campaign to ensure calm in the country before, during, and after this year's elections. The campaign train made a stop in Koforidua, the eastern regional capital.
This Ladies Association, Fire Service Ladies Association, Prison Officers' Wives Association, Prison Ladies Association, and Muslim Women's Association. Others were Tailors and Dressmakers Association, Revival Outreach Church, Church of Christ, and the Association of Hairdressers and Beauticians. The ladies took part in a cooking competition. The Police Wives Association emerged winners, followed by the Muslim Women's Association, while Liberty Vocational Institute placed third. The essence of the program was to emphasize the need for peaceful coexistence. Since it is women and children who suffer most when wars break out, the women were encouraged to embark on this exercise. Koforidua is the fourth town to host the program after the one that took place in Takoradi, Winneba and Oda. 16 other towns will also have the opportunity to host the programs. Madame Akosua Ejipon explains the rationale for the project. The Queen Mother of New Job in traditional area, Nanaya Dani, said election is about the expression of ideas through voting and not a do and die affair. Therefore, Ghanaians must try to coexist peacefully and not fight for someone's political ambition. The Eastern Regional Minister, Madame Mavis Frimpong, praised Akosua Ejipon for the initiative and advised especially the youth not to allow themselves to be used to foment trouble in the country. There was also a dancing competition which added color to the program, after which Akosua Ejipon performed her peace song.
And it's a wrap on the news for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back at 10:30 with This Week. Good evening.
Good evening.